My name is Lorraine Matthews, and this is the story of how my mama protected me from beyond the grave, and how the man I loved for nearly 20 years revealed the darkness he'd been hiding all along. Make sure you subscribe for more real-life stories that touch the soul. I share new life stories here every day, and I would really appreciate it if you hit subscribe and liked my video. Now let's jump back into my story. I sure you love it. You keep listening till the end. I was still wearing black the day everything began to fall apart. Mama had only been gone 2 days, and grief clung to me like wet clothes. Every room in my house carried her scent: lavender, cocoa butter, warm memories. I kept finding her glasses in random places. Little reminders that she wasn't supposed to be gone so soon. Mama Miss Evelyn Patterson, the strongest woman I ever knew, had raised me on her own after Daddy died when I was 6. She worked overnight at the hospital, then cleaned houses in the afternoons. She did everything with a quiet dignity, the kind only Black women seem to perfect after years of holding the world together. She loved my husband, or at least she tried to. But she also watched him, and that's the part I ignored back when I married Carter Matthews. I thought I'd won the whole world. Handsome, smooth-talking, ambitious lord, that man could charm a glass of water into jumping off a table. For the first few years, life really did feel like a fairy tale. He had big dreams of wealth and success, and I supported him with everything I had. But as the years rolled on, something in him shifted, darkened. He became obsessed with money and status, obsessed with what he didn't have. Mama saw the change before I did. She'd ask, "Baby, you happy with that man? Really happy?" But I was too deep in the dream to answer truthfully. Then, 3 months before Mama passed, she got her diagnosis: stage 4 pancreatic cancer. Fast, violent, unfair. I moved into her house to care for her, and Carter complained the whole time, said I was abandoning our marriage. But Mama needed me more. Those final months were full of late-night conversations, old stories, secrets she'd kept locked away, and warnings. Quiet warnings I didn't understand then. One night she held my hand and whispered, "Baby, promise me you'll stand up for yourself. Promise me you won't let nobody make you feel small." I promised because she needed me to, but I didn't understand that she was already protecting me in the only way. She had left. Mama passed at sunrise on a Tuesday morning. I held her hand until it went cold. 2 days later, just 2 days, Carter looked me in my swollen eyes and said, "Lorraine, I want a separation." My chest tightened so hard I thought my ribs might crack. "Carter, my mama just died." He shrugged out. He said he'd been thinking about it for months. Said it was time for both of us to move on. I told him to leave. I told him I couldn't look at him. And he left, but not before saying, "You should talk to a lawyer about your mama's estate." That's when I realized it wasn't heartbreak he was chasing. It was money. The next day he came back with divorce papers already filed, already waiting, already planned. He sat there calm as ice and told me, "We'll split everything, 50/50ths. Even whatever your mama left you." He thought he had it all figured out. But Mama, my sweet, wise Mama, had been planning to. She'd left me one last instruction: "Baby, trust attorney William Carter no matter what." And that single sentence saved my entire life. Asterisk, when I walked into attorney William Carter's office, the same man Mama trusted more than anyone besides God himself, still had no idea my whole life was about to shift. My heart was heavy, swollen with fresh grief, and I was terrified I'd break down the moment he said Mama's name. But when he stood up, hugged me gently, and said, "Lorraine, your mama loved you fiercely," I felt something loosen in my chest. Like Mama was in the room, he guided me to sit. Papers were neatly arranged on his desk, each one placed with the kind of care only older Black men seemed to master, a combination of respect, preparation, and quiet fire. "Before we start," he said, "I need to ask you something." He folded his hands, studying my face with those wise eyes. "Has Carter mentioned your mother's inheritance?" I felt my stomach twist. "Yes," my voice cracked. "He filed for divorce the day after the funeral. Attorney Carter didn't look surprised, not even a little. Your mama knew he would, he said calmly. That's why she came to see me 6 months ago. 6 months. Before she even knew she was sick. She asked me how to protect everything she worked for, her home, her savings, her life insurance from being taken advantage of. He slid a large beige folder toward me. Lorraine, your mama left you everything. The house worth nearly $500,000. Savings of over $200,000. Insurance. Investments. Altogether nearly $1.7 million. I felt dizzy. I didn't know she had that kind of money. He nodded. She lived frugal, invested smart, and never told a soul. Your mama was preparing long before she knew why. Then he opened another folder, thicker than the first. This, he said, tapping the paper, is an inheritance protection trust. Irrevocable, ironclad, legally sealed so tight not even the devil could pry it open. What does that mean? I whispered. It means nothing your husband does know. Divorce, filing. No lawyer, no manipulation can touch your inheritance. Not a penny. It's yours alone, just as your mama wanted. I covered my face and cried deep, shaking sobs that came from the very center of my soul. Mama, my sweet mama. She'd saved me even as she was dying. Then Attorney Carter handed me an envelope with my name written in Mama's handwriting, soft loops, long curves. My heart dropped. She wanted you to read this after I explained everything. I opened it slowly. The scent of lavender, her scent, drifted up like a blessing. My dearest Lorraine. If you're reading this, then Carter has shown his true self. Baby, I saw the greed in him years ago. The letter hit me like a wave. Mama wrote about noticing the way Carter talked about money, how he watched what other people had, how he pushed me to earn more while doing less himself. She wrote about praying, hoping she was wrong, but preparing for the day she might be right. I protected what I earned so you'd have freedom, baby. Freedom to leave. Freedom to live. Freedom to rebuild without him dragging you down. Stand strong. Stand tall. And don't you ever let that man make you feel small. Her words broke me open. I cried until I couldn't breathe. Attorney Carter gave me time, then said gently, Lorraine, I need you to listen carefully. Here's what we're going to do next. He laid out a plan that felt straight out of a movie. I would stay calm. I would not reveal anything to Carter. I would let him talk, let him show his greed, let him hang himself with his own words. And everything he did, everything he said, I would document when we go to court, Attorney Carter said. I want the judge to see the real Carter Matthews. He leaned back with a small, knowing smile. Your mama didn't just protect your money. She protected your future. Now we just have to follow her blueprint. I nodded slowly, wiping my tears. I wasn't just fighting for myself now. I was fighting for Mama's final act of love. Asterisk. When I walked back into my house after meeting Attorney Carter, I felt different. Not healed, not whole, but stronger. Like Mama had placed her hand between my shoulders and whispered, stand up straight, baby. Carter was sitting on the couch when I walked in, remote in hand, like nothing had ever happened. The same man who filed for divorce 2 days after. Mama's funeral was flipping through channels like he was waiting for pizza to be delivered. He barely looked up. Hey, you talked to the lawyer. I swallowed hard. Time to perform. Yes, I said quietly. He said, fighting this divorce would just make things harder. Maybe. Maybe it's better to just move forward. Carter tried to hide it, but a smile tugged at his lips. He thought he'd won. He leaned forward, voice so soft, pretending to care. That's mature, Lorraine. I knew you'd see things my way. My God. It took everything in me not to roll my eyes. I continued the act and he said Mama's estate might be bigger than I realized. Carter froze. Then, just like Mama predicted, his whole demeanor changed. Bigger how? Trying to sound casual, but failing almost. $2 million. The moment those words left my mouth, His eyes lit up like a child seeing presents under a Christmas tree. He tried to mask its stride, but greed is a loud spirit. It refuses to sit quietly. "Wow," he murmured, rubbing his chin. "Well, that's good. For us. Double quotes us. Lord, give me strength." He scooted closer, placing his hand over mine as if he suddenly remembered he was supposed to love me. "You know," he said, "I should move back in. It'll make the divorce process smoother, mature, civil." I stared at him. How I kept my face straight, I'll never know. "Okay," I said. "You can take the guest room." That grin he gave me. Chilling. The un-air violongo or the next 2 weeks. Carter's mask fell piece by piece. He asked about Mama's accounts. Asked when probate finished. Asked whether the money was already transferred. Asked whether I planned to sell Mama's house every day. A new question every day. I pretended not to notice. I would nod. Write everything down in my journal. Then call Attorney Carter from my car where Carter couldn't overhear. Good, the attorney always said. Let him talk. Let him show the court exactly who he is. The final TSTN, then it happened. One afternoon, Carter called me from the kitchen. Sounding excited like a kid who found a lost toy. "Lorraine, come here, I gotta show you something." I walked in and saw business papers spread across the table. He smiled like he'd rehearsed it. "My friend Derek is starting a tech company. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Only private investors. Only a few slots left." I knew what was coming. Mama knew too. This was the moment she had predicted. "I need $100,000 to invest," he said proudly, like he was asking for a spoonful of sugar, not someone's life savings. "And since we're still married, technically, that money is community property. So I figured you could front it now and we'll adjust when the divorce finalizes." I nodded slowly. "Let me think about it." He smiled wide. "Don't take too long. These chances don't come often." Oh, trust me, baby, I thought. This chance. It's never coming. Audience questions: have you ever ignored red flags because you loved someone too much? Do you believe a mother can sense danger before her child ever sees it? Have you ever had someone play nice just because they thought they could gain something from you? As soon as I got in my car, I drove straight to Attorney Carter's office, tears in my eyes, voice shaking. He asked, I said breathlessly, $100,000, just like Mama said he would. The attorney stood, closed his folder, and gave a slow, proud nod. Then, "Lorraine, it's time." Asterisk the morning of the meeting, the sky was the color of old metal gray, heavy and promising a storm. I sat in my car outside Attorney William Carter's office, hands gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles hurt. This was it. The moment Mama had prepared me for. The moment Carter would finally reveal himself to the world, not just to me. Inside. Attorney Carter greeted me with a nod and a calm that steadied my breathing. "Lorraine," he said, "no matter what happens in that room, remember, you're walking in with truth at your back." "Ah," I nodded. Mama's love wrapped around me like armor. We were still setting up when the door swung open, and in walked Carter Matthews, my soon-to-be ex-husband, wearing the kind of smile that only appears when somebody thinks they're about to win big. His eyes scanned the room. Me, Attorney Carter. The folders on the table. His smile widened. "Wow, you two look serious," he chuckled, sitting down as if the chair belonged to him. "So, are we finally going to talk about the money?" Attorney Carter folded his hands. "Yes. Today, we address everything." Carter leaned back, legs crossed, smugness radiating like cheap cologne. "Good," he said, "because I want this divorce smooth and fair equity. No drama. Just half of everything like the law says." Attorney Carter let a moment of silence sit between us, thick and loaded. "Mr. Matthews," he began, "I think you misunderstand your position." Carter blinked, then laughed. "Misunderstand? I'm her husband. Married 18 years. By law, I get my share." I looked at him, really looked at him. How did I ever love a man who didn't love me back? Attorney Carter opened a large binder. "Your claim relies on the assumption that Mrs. Matthews inherited marital assets." He flipped a page. She did not. Carter frowned. What are you talking about? Mrs. Matthews' inheritance, the attorney said in a steady voice, was placed into an irrevocable trust 6 months before her mother's death. Before the illness. Before any marital issues. Before your divorce filing. Carter blinked, fast confused. What does that mean? It means, Attorney Carter said, you have no legal right to any portion of her inheritance. Silence. Heavy. Absolute. Then Carter let out a sharp laugh, trying to recover. That's crazy. I'm her husband. I get half. That's the law. Attorney Carter slid a stack of documents toward him. Mr. Matthews, your wife owns nothing jointly that came from her mother. The trust is protected, untouchable, and we have documentation, your texts, your questioning, your sudden divorce filing that strongly demonstrate intent to benefit financially from her mother's passing. Carter's face drained of color. What texts? I reached into my purse and pulled out the small black notebook. My journal. Mama's quiet weapon. I documented everything, I said softly. Every question you asked. Every time you demanded to know how much Mama left. Every time you pushed for divorce while I was still mourning. He looked at me like I'd betrayed him. The irony was almost laughable. You were spying on me. He snapped. No, I said calmly. I was finally seeing you. Attorney Carter leaned in. And based on the timeline and your behavior, we are prepared to argue financial manipulation, emotional neglect, and coercion for monetary gain. The court will likely rule heavily in Mrs. Matthews' favor. Possibly full asset retention. Carter's jaw dropped. You can't do this. Your mother-in-law did this, Attorney Carter said, and she did it well. Carter stood abruptly, knocking his chair back. Lorraine, you're really going to let him talk to me like this? After everything. After all I've done for you. I held his gaze, steady, silent, done. Carter. I said gently, you left this marriage long before you filed papers. His eyes filled with anger, hot, red, ugly. He pointed a shaking finger at me. This isn't over. But when he stormed out, slamming the door behind him, the whole room seemed to exhale. Attorney Carter turned to me with a soft smile. You did well, Lorraine. Your mama would be proud. I felt it then, a warmth around my shoulders. Light, soft, love I knew too well, Mama. For the next 2 days, my house felt strangely quiet, too quiet. Not peaceful, but waiting. Like the air before a tornado touches down. Even the walls seemed to hold their breath. I knew Carter. Knew the way he thought, the way he reacted whenever things slipped out of his control. He wasn't the type to walk away not when money was involved. So when the knock came on the 3rd evening, it's heavy and impatient. I already knew it was him. I opened the door to find Carter, standing there with a fury so sharp it practically crackled off his skin. His eyes were dark, jaw tight, fists clenched by his sides. Let me in, he snapped. No. Loren, let me. Mama's gone, I said softly, but she didn't raise a fool. You don't get to storm into my home like you own it. That did it? He pushed past me and walked inside anyway. But here's the thing Mama always said. People reveal the most when they feel the least in control. And Lord, Carter was unraveling. He began pacing the living room, breathing hard, running both hands through his hair like he was fighting demons. You embarrassed me, he yelled. Do you have any idea what your lawyer accused me of? What'd you let him say about me? I stayed calm still, watching. Just as Attorney Carter trained me to. Everything he said, I replied, was the truth. He spun toward me so fast I flinched. And what truth is that? That I'm the bad guy. That I'm the villain in your little pity story. You filed for divorce 2 days after my mother died. He opened his mouth, then closed it. No excuse. Not even he could lie his way out of that. So instead he went for rage. You think you can do this to me? He shouted. Do you know how stupid you look? You really think you're going to live off that money? While I walk away with nothing. It's my mother's money, not ours. He stepped closer, voice low, trembling. You owe me. I gave you 18 years. I sacrificed for you. My heart ached not from fear, but from clarity. He really believed that. He really believed I owed him my mother's entire life legacy. You didn't sacrifice for me, I said quietly. You benefited from me. Its nostrils flared. His eyes widened. And that's when something shifted. His chest rose and fell faster. His face reddened. His voice lowered to a cold, dangerous whisper. I'll fight you, he said. I'll drag you through every court in this state if I have to, and I will get my share. I raised my chin. You can try. For a moment, silence stretched across the room, tight as piano wire. Then he grabbed his jacket and stormed out, slamming the door so hard a picture fell off the wall. I walked over, picked the frame up, and turned it around. It was Mama, smiling, strong, unboda. I felt like a message. Don't be afraid of what's leaving you, baby. Be grateful for what it's making room for. I placed the picture gently on the shelf. From that night on, I slept with every light on. The SEALTO over. The next week, Carter sent message after message. You're ruining everything. You can't win. This, I'll make sure you pay. We'll see what the judge thinks. You'll regret this. I saved every single one. Screenshots, backups, printouts, every threat became another brick in the wall Mama built to protect. Me. Attorney Carter called me one morning, voice serious Lorraine. He's becoming desperate. That means dangerous. I knew it. Felt it in my bones. But for the first time, I wasn't scared anymore. Because I finally understood something. Carter wasn't fighting for love. He was fighting for access to money he never earned. But Mama, she fought to give me a future. Asterisk that week. The court hearing date arrived, and little did Carter know. Mama had one last surprise waiting for him. Asterisk, the courthouse smelled like old wood, cold air, and forgotten arguments. I walked through its heavy double doors, feeling Mama beside me, her strength pressed into my spine, her courage lingering in my breath. I wore a simple black dress, the same one I wore to her funeral. Not because I was mourning Carter, but because I wanted to walk into that courtroom with a reminder that I had already survived the worst. Attorney William Carter walked beside me. Crisp suit, calm demeanor, confidence steady as a metronome. Lorraine, he said softly, no matter what happens in that courtroom, you've already won. You chose yourself. I nodded, and for the first time in months, believed him. The courtroom SHOWDOW in Carter arrived minutes later, swaggering in with a brand new suit, too shiny, too expensive, too desperate. He sat across from me, adjusting his cuffs, like the world owed him applause. He didn't even look at me. That told me everything. When the judge entered, Carter's attorney stood and began with a speech dripping in drama. How Carter was a devoted husband who had supported this marriage for nearly 2 decades. How he deserved equitable distribution. How he had been blindsided by sudden financial secrecy, theatrics, lies dressed in Sunday clothes. Then it was our turn. Attorney Carter stood. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't add unnecessary flair. He simply spoke the truth. Your Honor, this case is not about shared assets. It is about exploitation, financial manipulation, and a husband attempting to profit from his wife's grief. Carter shifted in his seat. Then Attorney Carter laid the entire situation bare. The date Carter filed for divorce 2 days after Mama's funeral, the constant questions about inheritance. The request for $100,000 for a business investment. The angry texts, the emotional coercion, the documented timeline proving his motives. He presented my journal entries. Screenshots, call logs, everything. Carter's lawyer objected, clung to technicalities, tried every legal dance move in the book, but the judge shut it down. Finally, Attorney Carter opened the thick beige folder Mama had signed 6 months before she passed. Your Honor, he said, this is the irrevocable trust created by Mrs. Evelyn Patterson. Every asset she owned was transferred into it before her illness, specifically to protect her daughter from marital exploitation. He placed the signed papers on the bench. The courtroom fell. So quiet you could have heard a heart break. Carter's face turned from red to white to something hollow. The judge leaned forward, glasses low on her nose. "Mr. Matthews," she said, "this is overwhelming evidence of intent to manipulate financial gain from your wife's bereavement. The court finds you have no legal claim to any portion of Mrs. Patterson's estate." Carter blinked, then shook his head. "No, that can't." But it was, and furthermore, the judge continued, "Due to your conduct, Mrs. Matthews retains full ownership of all marital savings, as the court views your recent actions as an attempt at unjust enrichment." Carter stood up so fast his chair screeched. "You can't do this. This is my life too. She owes me." The judge slammed her gavel. "Sit down, Mr. Matthews." He sank back, defeated, deflated, exposed. And in that moment, I didn't feel victorious. I felt free. After the VRDC outside the courthouse, the wind felt warmer, lighter, like Mama had opened the sky just for me. Attorney Carter shook my hand. "Lorraine, your mother was a brilliant woman. She didn't just protect your finances. She protected your spirit." I nodded, tears slipping down my cheeks. "She saved me," I whispered. He smiled. "No, Lorraine. She prepared you. You've saved yourself." I walked to my car feeling taller than I had in months. When I sat down, my phone buzzed. A voicemail from Mama, left months before she passed. Her voice was soft. "Warm home, baby. If you're hearing this, it means you made it through. I am so proud of you. Go live your life. Go be free. You deserve joy." I pressed my forehead to the steering wheel and sobbed. Not out of grief, but gratitude and release. Mama didn't just leave me money. She left me strength, wisdom, courage. Her final gift wasn't wealth. It was freedom. Audience questions: have you ever found strength you didn't know you had because life forced you to? Do you believe loved ones can still guide us even after they're gone? What's one thing you've learned from someone who protected you more than you realized? Final message: you've ever survived betrayal, heartbreak, or someone trying to take advantage of your kindness. Remember this: your story isn't over. Your strength didn't break. You are becoming who you were always meant to be. Mama's love didn't save me from pain. It prepared me to walk through it without losing myself. And if you're reading this, you're stronger than you think. 2. Subscribe for more powerful, soul-touching, real stories. Sometimes life takes turns we never expect. Every person in this story carried their own pain, their own choices, and their own consequences. Maybe you saw yourself in one of them, or maybe it reminded you of someone you once knew. What do you think happened next? What would you have done if you were in their place? If you have any questions about what happened to the other characters, or if you want me to share more about them, just comment below. I read every message you leave, and your thoughts truly mean a lot to me. And if this story touched your heart, inspired you, or even made you think differently, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It helps me keep sharing stories that move people, open minds, and remind us we're all human. At the end of the day, your support keeps these stories alive. Thank you for watching, for feeling, and for being part of this journey. More powerful stories are coming soon. Stay tuned and stay kind.